Hi, I'm Keven LeBlanc, running for Herndon Town Council. In one of my other videos talking about housing, I really kind of described the differences between affordable workforce and low-income housing and some of the concerns and things that I support in what I would do on town council, though of course there are some limits when we talk about low-income housing given the area is already developed. Now, housing, as I said then, is a very complicated topic. It has a trickle down on any number of issues. For example, seniors. I want to address that. I come from a family, I was raised by my grandparents for the most part. I'm very close to extended family. We typically, in my family's culture and where I'm from, your elders live with you. So there are multi-generational family units. But then when they don't, what happens? And so with our area, this plays heavily with taxes as well, right? So taxes increase. Many of our elderly on fixed incomes. So how do they survive? They get pushed out of their own housing if they can't afford it. So we really need to look both at tax structures and how do we make it such that our senior citizens who have lived here for much of their lives, if not all of their lives, don't get kind of forced out of their homes unwillingly because of our tax structures and tax increases and other costs of living. So how do we support them? How do we keep them with electricity and medicines and other things that if it's going to just pay for putting a roof on their head, over their heads? How do we support elderly citizens who then move into elderly facilities and continue to engage them and see the value that they bring to the community, which is tremendous. So we need housing that supports, tax structures and housing programs that support keeping elderly people in their homes if they choose to and are able to, co-located facilities, senior housing facilities, and then those that are maybe even more assistive when the medical issues or other concerns are too great. I think we all will get old one day, knock on wood, hopefully. And so this is of particular concern to all of us, and it should be of concern to all of us. And we need to be thinking about it because we will be in those shoes, even if we're not now or don't have parents or grandparents that are facing this right now. So I think part of that issue is because we're a very transient society here. A lot of us are transplants from other locations. And so maybe our families had the means or live in lower income areas where this is not as big of a problem. But we need to recognize that it is someone else's parents and grandparents that are being impacted. Now, on the flip side of that, housing also impacts education, which, as you know by now, education and food scarcity are two of my big hot buttons nationally. Education, to me, is the way that I escaped poverty and family cycles. My family viewed as immigrants that education was the way to, really realize and become a stronger part of the society that we've chosen to live in. It's the way that you understand about other cultures, right? The more educated you are, the more you can determine for yourself and make decisions around politics and see the patterns of what something will impact beyond what you're being told through propaganda. It's the way that we can escape through reading, learn about other cultures, embrace diversity, understand that we're all human and we're all connected. So education is really the key to so many things, not to mention just the very straight fact of pulling yourself out and having a job and, having stronger jobs, which pay more, which are more successful and so forth in the rest of your life, if that's what you choose to do. Now, I do believe education has many paths. Not everyone is meant for high-tech jobs or, higher levels of education. I think that we should have paths for other things as well. But I'm digressing into the education topic, which is really more of a state and national debate. But the way that housing impacts this is that, of course, housing becomes the tax base and the population that have children that are going to our schools. So if we're going to, and certainly those schools are what then circularly attracts certain people to buy the homes in those areas, because people with families or potential families, if they're planning, want to live in certain places where that they know the schools are good. So all of this, and if I take a breath, all of this really has an interplay together. And that's what makes housing and taxes so critically important to discuss and to understand, but also critically difficult to manage. And so I think that we really need to look at what is the balance, so that way we can afford supporting our schools, which the town of Herndon does not control. Those are Fairfax County run schools, but obviously, it's based on the income and based on the housing and based on who's living here as to what programs we offer in the schools and how do we meet the people who are living here. Some of them, again, getting back to food scarcity. If they, we have a very strong free lunch program in our schools, which means that sometimes a lot of those children are not eating on the weekends. So how do we step up as a community to support them, to make sure that everyone is fed and that they have the resources they need in school to be successful? So housing really is kind of at the root or at the core of a lot of this. And so I know I didn't really answer, what I would do, other than that we really need people thinking about this and we need to be constantly vigilant. And that's what I can promise, is that I'm passionate about, this is of great concern to me, and I will continue to look at zoning and other ways to involve all of these different aspects into policy making. Thank you.